if you happen to have access to any 360 VR video, you can use it as a skybox through much the same process, but there's one extra step. So I've thrown a couple of 360 videos into my project as a test. We're going to start with this Portals Skybox video, and I'm going to create a 360 video player object with the video clip as Portals Skybox. And then we're going to make a render texture. So here we'll do create render texture. This will be Portals render texture. This is going to be the target texture. The render texture has to be, in this case, it has to be the same size as the source video. Basically, we want high res for this skybox, and so we have a video of 5760 by 2880. Now, that should probably raise eyebrows and make you think, oh wow, this is going to be a large video file running, you know, in the background of this 3D animated, real-time rendered, you know, scene. So you definitely can't expect every computer to run this. You can't expect to have multiple 360 videos running in the same scene. It's going to push processors to their limit, but if you want to play with this and see what you can get away with, I'll show you how. So you have the render texture made, and then here's where the extra step comes in that we haven't been doing up until now. We're going to right click and create a material. I'll call this Portal Skybox. And up here at the very top of the material, instead of the shader being standard, we're going to go down to Skybox, click, and choose Panoramic. So we're making a panoramic skybox out of this Portal render texture. We drag the Portals render texture to this box here. So now the last step is going to be to go into lighting, which is where you set your skybox, and drag the Portal skybox to the skybox material. As you can see, even as I dragged over the skybox, it already started. The other thing you'll probably notice is that our global lighting is going to change because we were getting some of the color and brightness of our skybox as the global lighting. This is a 360 photo that I collaged 360 video in another set of tutorials about making 360 video in Premiere. This will suffice as an example right now. When you go back into the inspector for the skybox material, notice that you can change rotation in case you want to have this fit in a different spot. Just turn around its axis, you know, so that the skybox is in certain places. You can also change exposure, and you can even change a tint of the image, which will create changes in the global lighting. However, it will also change the image. So, you know, you have to use that sparingly if your image is photographic like this. Okay, so let's give it a test and check it out. And in the simulated camera rig, it works as well. We can move around. When you get to the end, you see the skybox. Now, that demonstrates that it's possible. I have to say, though, I think this looks much worse than what we had earlier. I wouldn't stick with this particular look. It just happens to be an example that I have. Another example that I have is an abstract 360 video that I made, I will make a render texture for that and the material for that, and show you what that looks like as an alternate option. So this looks pretty cool. I mean, I think there's something to be said for an animated skybox bringing a sense of, I don't know, visual wonder, or just sort of visual interest, or a certain kind of surreal nature to a scene like this that's sort of hovering in empty space. Giving that void a kind of animation is nice. And for those of us who are not you know, 3D animators by trade or whatever, a 360 video could potentially be a way to get that kind of movement into the skybox. Of course, this comes at a render cost, as I said. You're basically running 4K video all the time behind a you know, 3D rendered real-time VR simulation. Now, we're not making a very heavy Unity project here in these small rooms, but even still, this might be a lot. And when you're running choices, like I made a video player for the previous photographic skybox. The video players are running whether you see them or not. So I made that inactive while I was running this one, because it was lurching, trying to run 2 4K videos at once and screen record this tutorial and, you know, pump out you know, whatever, 90 frames a second to a headset. So it's taxing, I guess, is all I'm saying. But on the flip side, if you were trying to make a 360 video with a limited world, you know, if you were like, all this world stuff is irrelevant and I just want a way to make Unity show my 360 video plus have an interface or a couple of little doodads in it for some reason, then this is the way you would do it with that skybox method. Other interesting thing you can do with 360 video, which is a little wackier, but why not do a little bit of wacky? We can, I'm going to change our skybox back to our previous one, partially because I think it just looked fine, and partially because of the render cost. And then I'm going to use, I turned off the abstract 360, I turned the portal one back on, and I'm going to throw our portal render texture as a material onto that big bouncy sphere that we had made a while ago, and just show you that you can put 360 video on a spherical object and it will wrap all the way around, and if the object is interactable, and you know, like this one is a rigid body, it's subject to gravity, I can can bump it, can mess with it, give it a bump. But anyway, again, it's a 4K video that's running on that thing, so it can be taxing, but it's an interesting option.